Good morning to all of you. It is currently 8:45 my time. Um, Thank you to whoever just left a like. Um, let's talk about crossovers. Do you think Disney would ever consider doing a Marvel and Star Wars crossover movie? And if they did, would that be something that excites you? Or makes you groan in disgust? If they brought elements of the Legends universe, characters from the games, and built a story that incorporates Marvel heroes going up against the likes of powerful Sith, alongside of the Jedi. It's something I personally believe could work. But if they did it, how would they go about making it plausible? I won't lie, even as somebody who's not the biggest Star Wars fan, if we could see the likes of Luke Skywalker, Yoda, Obi-Wan, Mace Windu, teaming up with the likes of Thor, um, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, of course, Captain America, Vision, I said Thor, right? And the X-Men. Would be, pretty spectacular. You know, that's one of the issues I had with the Star Wars movies, is that it it just didn't make sense for the Star Wars movies under Disney to not at least have fight scenes on the same level as the MCU. The prequels weren't perfect, but the lightsaber duels we got were dazzling. Some people might argue there was too much flipping, to which I would say, well, if that's something you found distasteful, then clearly you've never seen The Matrix or other martial arts films where people flip around all the time. I'm fairly certain things like that have happened in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies. It's definitely happened in the Mortal Kombat movies. To me, it's just one of the dumbest complaints. And flippy isn't even a word. So if you're going to criticize the amount of acrobatics that the Jedi utilize during fights, use real words. And also recognize that you're talking about individuals who are supernaturally empowered, because the Force is a supernatural energy. So they are not, normal by any stretch. They are clearly superhuman. And they wield blades of pure energy. I think the last thing you should criticize about Star Wars is Jedi flipping around. Hello there, Vanilla fan. Don't believe I've seen you before, so welcome. It's just silly, People don't criticize a lot of the things that happen in the MCU, but they'll freak out about Anakin Skywalker or other Jedi flipping around a decent amount during fights. And yet, at the same time, you never see people criticize Yoda for doing the same thing. I mean, when he fights, he twirls around like a ballerina, basically. Not much. Yourself? Thank you for the second like. just interesting, you know. Well, people will let one franchise get away with things, but not another. I mean, this is the same franchise where a person quite literally shoots electricity from his hands, where people can, to a degree, see the future. Um, People can, you know, block shots from a, a laser gun using a sword, right? Like, just don't. Um, but I think that could be cool. It's probably a little too late at this point, at this stage, because you're not going to get certain characters for such a production. But you know, just imagining it is pretty wild. I think seeing Luke Skywalker standing alongside of the likes of Tony Stark, the likes of Steve Rogers, and Thor, and even Doctor Strange would be. There, honestly, I just can't find the words to describe what it would be like. For some, it might be a dream come true. Just like if somehow you could take Aragorn, Gandalf, and then take Dumbledore and I'm trying to think of another one who isn't Luke Skywalker or a Jedi, but you know, the kinds of things they would discuss, how they would interact. Like imagine a council where you have Gandalf, Yoda, um, Odin, um, Boomtown 89ers. Hard to say. Because I actually haven't seen Ghost Rider in the MCU, so I don't know how, I don't know what he's capable of. Did did Ghost Rider get a miniseries in the MCU? I mean, The thing with Ghost Rider is obviously the penance stare, which I don't exactly know how it functions. Um, in terms of like who it can affect and who it can't, but the ability to look into someone's soul and destroy it is just insane. I mean, and I have seen the first movie, if you mean the Nicolas Cage one. Like, okay, so just going based off the first movie and, scaling those characters up to what we see MCU characters capable of. He takes down Blackheart, the son of Mephisto. Right. And Blackheart would probably have to be I want to say in the same ballpark as like Thanos, or maybe even a little bit higher. Um, so I I I I I guess I would have to um agree with that. Because Iron Man's obviously not going to stand a chance against Ghost Rider. I don't believe Hulk would. Um, Not Doctor Strange. Not Thor. Because isn't the penance stare like an absolute? Like once he uses it, that's it. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It's working. I know there is, there are exceptions to who it can affect. I just don't remember what those are. Don't you pretty much have to be like a pure soul? Um, in which case, yeah, every single Avenger is toast. Um, I mean, maybe if, and this is just hypothetical, someone with the Infinity Gauntlet knew about the penance stare and used the stones to alter reality to where he doesn't have it somehow. But Ghost Rider's just. I mean, I don't want to call him immortal, but he's very hard to destroy, assuming that's even possible. Um, yeah, thank you for the question. That was a great one. Um, and thank you to, whoever just left the third like. I feel like the only real way you could deal with Ghost Rider would be if you had a reality warper who was also a telepath, right? Because the one weakness a reality warper has is that, and thank you so much. Reality warpers have to basically think things to make them happen, right? Out of the gate, a reality warper is not gonna see something coming. They would have to grant themselves that ability. It's just the power of imagination, taken literally. That's I'm getting a little off topic here, but that's the reason why Franklin Richards in the comics was so broken, because he wasn't just a reality warper. He was also a telepath. So his telepathy allowed him to sense things before they happened, and then he could warp reality to stop it. But for everyone else, it's akin to like using some form of energy to alter things, and you actually have to think, or you have to focus. And the more complex the alteration or creation, the more focus you'll need. Um, like if you really think about it, a human reality warper is not as broken as you might think, because they don't have power until they will it. Like, look at the Infinity Stone. It's basically like the Infinity Stones, except you don't need the stones to do it. It's your own power. Um, like, um, if Captain America could use the Infinity Stones, and I don't know, Galactus was, you know, attacking him from behind, unless he knows that attack is coming, he can't use the stones to stop it, or um teleport away. Like look at Thanos when he's seemingly injured by Gamora. If that had been the real Thanos, he wouldn't have just been able to use the stones to heal the injury, because the injury affects his focus. And you know, when it comes to the stones, focus and is literally everything. Um, it's the same with reality warpers. It's basically like using a muscle. And another thing about a reality warper would be they can only create what they know or are aware of or can think of. Like, a reality warper is not going to be able to build. I mean, depending on how advanced their ability is or how potent it is or whatever word you want to use, wouldn't be able to build a complex machine without knowing, how it works. And then there's, the mental strain. Like, even the most powerful telepaths strain themselves when they try to do too much. Xavier's a great example of this. So imagine if we took Xavier and gave him reality warping instead of telepathy. He'd have to concentrate for a good while to accomplish certain tasks. This kind of makes me want to see. I don't know if there are any heroes that have those kinds of powers, but this kind of makes me want to see that done in the MCU. Like showing a character who seemingly has the potential for what appears to be limitless power, but because it's all based on imagination, the character's, just as vulnerable as you or I, if, say, a missile is coming at them. Hello, hello, my man, my friend. It is an honor. It is great to see you. Who knows, maybe this is what they'll do with Franklin Richards. Doing alright. That's all I can really say. Thank you for the like. I want to get back to Franklin Richards for a bit. While I haven't read any Fantastic Four comics, I know that initially, thank you, I appreciate that. Same to you as well. You're on your way to 2K, and that's something to be celebrated and proud of. Franklin Richards in the comics, he like aged himself up. He did some pretty crazy things. Like he Don't take this the wrong way, but he dominated Galactus and basically made him his underling. Um, it was an adult version of him, but still. He um accidentally teleported himself to hell when he was a kid, and then either his parents had to come save him, or he eventually got himself out. um he brought Thing back to life, um and he was scolded for it because going against the natural order and whatnot. um which would honestly be interesting to see, um Reed and Sue more or less having to teach their son how to be responsible for his powers, because you know Franklin Richards, even the MCU, should at the very least be on par with Scarlet Witch, but probably a bit stronger, because again, he's not just a reality warper. If they go with what he is in the comics, he's also a telepath. And we know that reality warping is something you have to turn on and turn off. Telepathy is both that and something that's subconscious. And obviously, a human being with these kinds of powers, or even a mutant, which is what Franklin Richards is in the comics, or at least he was. He was a mutant. He was actually regarded as the most powerful mutant, human mutant, in existence, at least at one point, through his own power alone. But yeah, I think that would be. I think that's what they should do for the Fantastic Four movies, is allow Franklin to get older, um, and do have his story be about the risks that come with the great power he possesses. Um, if we remember the Uncle Ben line, with great power comes great responsibility. That is actually more true for someone like Franklin Richards than it is Spider-Man, because someone like Franklin can quite literally end the world with his mind by thinking it. I'm not saying that it would be easy. I'm not saying that he'd be able to do that, when he's young. Like any other power, it has to grow with time. It is essentially psychic in nature, because you're using your mind to literally cause things to happen. And so it's like you need to control your emotions, because until you're able to separate, your thoughts from the ability to alter reality, even just a simple moment of anger could be dangerous. Um, which, if I'm not mistaken, Franklin, an adult version of him, actually put restraints on his power so that he couldn't lose control of it. And, there's also the whole deal with reaction time. Like, how fast can you see something coming and then think of a way to stop it, right? That's true for anyone. And just because, you can think something and it happens doesn't mean it's going to be instantaneous. Like, if a gun's pointed at you and the finger is on the trigger, it doesn't mean that you'll be able to, like, make the gun disappear before it's fired, or do something about the bullet as it's coming at you. You would have had to have imagined yourself as being fast enough to react to bullets before you could then do something else. And the more you imagine, the more, the more, just like a muscle, the more you use it, the more tired it's gonna get, or the more, I'm for some reason struggling to find the words that I want to say here, but I think you know what I mean. Um, so hopefully they'll do that. Like, in all honesty, if I was them, I would I would make Franklin part of the X-Men. Like, in a second film. And have part of the story be about Xavier trying to use his powers to help Franklin control his and learn how to, you know, pretty much be at peace. Maybe even use his abilities to craft restraints or methods by which Franklin can control his abilities without any issues. you know, they could actually make Franklin Richards like the threat in one of the Fantastic Four movies. They probably won't because they're obsessed with having a villain in every movie. Case in point, Civil War. You could have easily just had a conflict and Tony serve as both a protagonist and an antagonist, you know. But no, apparently we always had to have a villain and it needs to be, simple. Um but a Fantastic Four film where the story is that Franklin is losing control because he doesn't understand his abilities. He's scared of what he can do, and he causes things to happen. Maybe he even creates like an army or something. I'm not suggesting that his parents would fight him, quote unquote, but just him being overwhelmed by his power and his emotions causing him to trigger certain things. Franklin Richards, in a weird way, could be compared to Raven from DC Comics, because we know that with Raven, if she doesn't keep her emotions in check and she doesn't focus, terrible things can happen. It's even worse for Franklin Richards because Raven, to my understanding, cannot warp reality outright. He can. And so exploring the horrors of that, like I think could be a great plot line for one of the Fantastic Four films. I just thought of something that's probably not going to be the case, and I'm sure a lot of people would hate this, but what if it was. There's no way they would do this. But what if an alternate version of Franklin created the version of Doctor Doom that we're going to get in Doomsday? We know that we're still dealing with the multiverse. So there could be a version of Franklin who grew up knowing Tony Stark, because in that reality, Tony Stark was still alive. And he somehow, through his powers, learned that in at least one reality, Tony doesn't live past, the events of Endgame, and so he tries to basically bring him back. But it's done incorrectly. He brings him back, but Tony now has, like, the trauma from having lost his life through using the Infinity Stones. Like, you know, he's gotten a taste of that power now. And it's warped his mind. I'm pretty sure that's not what they're gonna do, but now that I think about it, that would be pretty genius. And I think I want to make that my discussion stream for later today. I mean, for one thing, it would directly connect Reed to Doctor Doom, even if it is, not the real Doom, as in, a man that was literally born with the name Victor Von Doom and, had the same heritage, that Doom has. It would still create a connection between the two. Because I truly believe that where they're going to go with this is that there's a version of Tony Stark that changed his name and became obsessed with power. And having gotten a taste of the power that the Infinity Stones can grant you, after having been brought back by Franklin Richards, he doesn't know who did it. Maybe he thinks he's been brought back for a reason, and it completely twists his mind, and makes him believe that I need to acquire power on that same level, so that I can, prevent things from ever happening. And so he adopts the name Victor Von Doom. He builds himself a new suit that has no resemblance to the Iron Man suits, although I'd imagine it's as advanced. I don't know if they're gonna give him a Doom suit that's like on the level of the nanotech Iron Man suits that he had. I mean, it would make sense because Doctor Doom is gonna have to be more powerful than Thanos. So, at the very least, he should have a suit that's on the same level as that one, and magic greater than that of Doctor Strange. But who knows? Just have to wait and see. I suspect that Secret Wars will basically adapt the storyline in which Reed Richards creates a brand new universe. And that's more or less going to be a reboot of the MCU. And maybe it's through that, you know, other things happen. Maybe it's through that reboot that, a new Iron Man would actually make sense. Basically, I'm suggesting that Reed would undo what happened in Endgame, without, uh, not undo everything, but undo, um, whatever Captain America did and others did that messed with the timelines. Um, so, but yeah, we'll see. Um, Still waiting on that trailer where you unveil the voice of Doom and give us our first look at him, Disney, because, kind of need to see that. Isn't there a Disney event that usually happens in the summer? Because if so, I'd imagine that's when they'll show it. Anywho, I think now is a good time to think about ending this stream. Um, so as always, thank you, everyone, um, for your continued support. You already know how it is, uh, how appreciated it is. Um, that something is being worked towards. Um, so I hope that if you haven't, you'll consider subscribing. And sticking around to see what comes next, and maybe even taking a look at what I've talked about in the past. I hope all of you have a great day, and I will see you in less than 8 hours. As is tradition, gonna leave you with my usual outro. The truth is, I am Iron